digging deeper. We are in season 3. This is the 3rd episode. So you are 3-3.
That seems good. Yeah.
It's a special episode.
Okay, good.
So with me today, I've got Becky Scarcello.
Hello.
And we're going to be talking about building connections.
Yes, that's something I'm very passionate about.
And I'm excited to hear about your thoughts with that topic. But before we get into any of that, if you could tell us a little bit about who you are, what's your expression, what do you do, what are you about?
Okay, I'll try to keep it short.
So, you have an hour, so it's fine.
That's true. We can chat. I'm that person that has a lot of trouble leaving parties, so I can talk. So professionally, I manage a company called Feet on the Street Tours. Okay. And so it was a company started by Linda Yellen, just all about cultural tourism in Detroit. And she started it like 15 years ago, before it was a thing. Yeah. So I've been with her about 6.5 years, and I manage the company. I also give tours, and my specialty is the street art tours. I love that, and the murals. So, and then I also co-host a local podcast called The Debrief, and so we're all about arts and entertainment in Detroit, and really giving, shining a light on people that maybe don't as much get the traditional media exposure. Yeah. So we do in-depth interviews with a lot of musicians and artists and chefs and people that run museums and that kind of thing. Yeah. And then our weekly shows also are kind of like a calendar of what's going on that are curated by things we like to do and things we think people should know about. So we just had our 99th episode today. So tomorrow will be the 100th. So yeah, I can't believe it's that many, but so that feels
When did it start?
I did not originally start it. It was two guys, my co-host Seth Ressler and a comedian named Mike Jeter, who's doing really well in the local and beyond comedy scene. But they started it in October of 2017. Okay. Yeah, so it's been over a year. And I joined, I think we figured out around episode 18.
Okay, so you've been there for a while.
Yes, and my first guests that I brought on were Piper Carter and Mahogany Jones.
No way, Yep, they were on season 1.
Yeah.
So if you haven't watched their episodes, you have to.
Right, or listen to episode 18 of The Debrief.
There you go.
So that's what we do there. We have 3 shows a week. And then I do a lot of volunteer work, just anything I'm passionate about or honestly that people ask me to do or I feel compelled. But I've been a board member of Matrix Human Services for, I can't even believe this, about 11 years. Wow. And we are all about breaking the cycle of poverty in the city of Detroit, which I think it pairs really well with what I do because I can't talk about go out and have all this fun and all these great things going in the city without acknowledging that there's still a lot of issues, especially in our neighborhoods, and that not everybody is able to participate in the Renaissance. And so, the school systems have issues, and a lot of families are struggling. So I love what we do because it's about giving that hand up, not just the hand out, and it's about everyone being allowed to have a dream and pursue things that they are hopeful to achieve. So those are kind of my professional and philanthropic lives. I'm also a mom, and a wife, and so I have a great family, and my sons are 18 and 16. Nice. So I also consider that my job to raise decent human beings. Yeah, it's a and men. So so that's in a nutshell.
There's so many questions I have right now, so I'm going to narrow them down. I'm interested, one, in the street art tours that you do. Like, where are they? What are your favorite places? Yeah. How did you get into that? And 2, how did you get into the work that you've been doing with Matrix Human Services?
Okay, so the street art, and the way I got connected to the tour company, I've had a bunch of jobs. That would take hours, so I'm not going to get into that. But I feel like I've worked in the city in some capacity since I graduated from college, which was in 1992, so it's been a long time. And each step of the way has sort of led me to kind of discovering this whole tour thing. So I worked for the Hudson Weber Foundation for many years, and so that was the philanthropic arm of the Hudson's family. And we gave away at that time about $8 million a year. So it connected me so much with all our culture institutions and the Detroit Medical Center and so many places that were trying to piece together Detroit's success. So I had that, and then I had my kids, and I was in a period of like I didn't know what to do next. I had worked at Pueblo Pottery, I'd worked at the DIA, and many different places. And so I had a little time on my hands, so I actually went on a tour with Linda Yellen, who owns the company, at Eastern Market. And that's kind of our what we're known for, is being tour guides on Eastern Market. We do everything all around the city, but those are consistently, you can always take a public tour there with us. So I just fell into it, honestly. And it was just a really good time because a couple years after I started, they started this whole mural festival at Eastern Market. So Murals in the Market has been one of the most exciting things, I think, for the city. And all these artists have been here in Detroit for so long, plugging away doing their stuff, and to really have this kind of public outlet, so it's so accessible. Anyone can go, you know. You might be used to artists having to go to a gallery or a studio or see them at a show. It's pretty profound to have art all over the outdoor walls. So it really changed the game. And I think we just realized pretty early on, like, we've got to be a part of this as a company and really showcasing this. So, of course, like I said, it's accessible and open. Anyone can go and wander and see it. But to me, what makes it super exciting is to meet the artists, talk to them, and hear their story and how they got to be where they are and what their expression is coming through on these walls. And so it's just like any museum, you know, you're going to go in and appreciate there, but if you know the stories behind it, that's
a whole nother thing. What
I really dig. And so I just look at it as being an ambassador and just a go-between. So, I mean, I'm not really doing anything earth-shattering. They've done all the work. They're the amazing people. I just get to tell other people about it. So
that's amazing. I mean, anytime we have people who come to visit us, we always take them to Eastern Market.
Of course.
Because I feel like you have to see that art.
Yes.
And just bask in it.
And it's nice because it's easy to get around and to show a large... I mean, there's over now 150 murals in Eastern Market alone. Over the past 4 years of the festival. And there was always a tradition there. So there's very old murals. There's some from the 50s, 60s, 70s. But beyond that, we do art tours all over the city. So we get into artist studios, whether it be metal workers or photographers or, you know, that whole, we're all about the behind the scene experience. Of course, you got the Belt downtown. You got the Z Garage. Even the Z Garage, there's 40 artists alone just in a drive-through art gallery, basically, in this place. So they're all over the city. And what's really cool is when we can get people on a bus and cover. I mean, you know how huge Detroit is, and now there's murals around every corner.
So are there tours set up as like different pockets of areas?
It depends on the client. So what works really well for our public tours is Eastern Market, just because you can show up and we can walk. We also take people on buses around there too, but so those are our public ones. But I would say 90% of what we do is private tours. But people always ask me, well, how many people are you doing for that? I've taken one person.
Really?
You know, whatever. So whoever wants to hire us, and we go from there. So our sweet spot, I would say, is like 15 to 50 people. But we've done bigger than that and certainly smaller. I just did a mural tour not too long ago with, 3 friends. So whatever you have, but that's our public ones where you can go on the website, sign up, that kind of thing. But our bread and butter, what we love to do is customize for your group. So take people back to old neighborhoods that they grew up in and see the murals and how they've changed things. People who are interested in architecture, say, or are interested in music, or so it all depends on the group, where they're from, what they want to see. And we've taken people from Austria and Switzerland, Germany, Japan, Australia, any
all over the place.
Right. Yeah, it's amazing the people that are coming to Detroit, and we're becoming so known for so many things: urban gardening, murals, public art. So it's just a joy to be able to tailor the tours for the group.
I'd be interested in the architecture one because I love driving around, just looking at the buildings and churches and just the landscape of this area.
Yes.
And trying to imagine what it used to look like in its prime, and like what is the history of certain buildings and certain just areas in general.
Yeah. And we are not experts by any means on all of this.
Yeah.
But we've built a lot of relationships, and I think that gets to the core of the point we want to talk about too, connecting, because everybody that you meet in the city has some expertise or some knowledge or has a story. So what we like to do is hook up with people that will meet us at spots. And, I think I am an okay tour guide style, but who wants to listen to me for 6 hours straight? So if we have somebody all day long, I want to get you to talk to the manager of the Elmore, for instance, in Midtown. Okay. He can tell the story about that building, which has incredible history, better than I can, because he's lived it and breathed it every day. So we try to really showcase different people who have different expertise, throughout. There's great architects, there's great artists, there's great historians, and we're just the connector. We're just the, Linda Yellen, who runs the company, is a tremendous historian as well. But we like to piece all that together.
Yeah. I guess that was where my next question was going, is how do you connect with people who are linked to the actual stories of the places that you're showcasing?
A lot of just talking to strangers. A lot of just hanging out. And that's what's kind of great about my jobs, is that now I have an excuse and a purpose for all the things I like to do for fun anyways. And it's a tremendous conversation starter when you can say, I bring thousands at this point, thousands of guests to the city every year and show them around. I would like to talk to you about it, So, it's just a lot of hanging out. It's a lot of going up to random people. And, you get to hear their story too. And then it's a lot of like the spider web, right? So now, like, I knew Wayne Ramakin, and he introduced me to you, and then you introduced me to your husband, and then you introduced me to, Christina. It's just like, and then now I can say, okay, I know she knew somebody that knew something about, and it's just like that. So we keep a lot of notes. I have so many contacts and business cards, and and it never hurts to ask, and people love to be involved and love to share and tell. Plus, it also is honestly a nice income for a lot of people. So say you're a photographer, but if I can pay you to bring people in, which you deserve. Anybody we work with, we pay them or give a donation. And so that's really sweet too, to provide this other kind of income source. So it's kind of just a being friendly and a talking to anybody and
being friendly and talking to people.
Which I think is somewhat lost, but not in Detroit.
I don't think so. But I think it's interesting how you describe it as a spider web, because I feel like that is exactly how it is. Because as soon as you meet one person, they've got their network of people.
Exactly.
And if they introduce you and you meet people from there, and then you realize how people are connected in so many different ways.
Yes, and I feel like everybody in the Detroit area and Michigan as a state is only a couple degrees separated. I mean, people stay here a long time and are really, proud of where they are and everything. So, you have to be careful what you say, too. Which is good. It keeps you in check, because you don't know who knows people. But it's valuable, too, so.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And I think knowing who your audience probably helps in that regard.
Definitely. And I just, I think that's one benefit of getting older as well, is that the more experiences you have, the greater percentage of them are positive.
Yeah.
And so, of course, you'll have people that say no or like, what do you want from me? But I would say that's not generally the case. And so, what do you have to lose? It's not personal. And I think you get more yeses than it is, you know, when you're interested in people, not when you're interested in what they can do for you.
Right.
That's not a great approach. Right. But, you know, especially the artists I talk to, it's like, I want to know about you. I want to know your story. I want to know about your craft, because that's not a talent I have. And same with musicians. Like, what you do is magic to me. That is true magic to me. So I just want to be a part of it. Right. And if I can not do it myself, at least I can share the experience and be a witness to it, and then share and say, hey, you've got to hear this great band, or you need to see this artist. And I think when people know that your interest comes from a genuine place and not you're not trying to make money or exploit them, or like I just posted something today, like, I'm not going to say, oh yeah, I can give you all this exposure. Right. Like, no, if I would pay you. Yeah, exactly. Like I contribute to the Murals in the Market Patronicity campaign, like that, because that's a valuable, it's your job and your trade. And so I think people see through if you're not genuine in that respect.
They do. So. And for artists, when this work is our livelihood, we can see right through it. Yeah. And I hate when people say that, like, oh, well, you'll get exposure, it'll be good exposure for you, and this and that. It's like, well, we have quite a bit of exposure in this city.
Right, yeah.
Thank you.
Right.
But, like, we have the exposure. And so that becomes frustrating, because then at that point I feel like people don't seem like they're genuinely supporting the arts. It's just, what can they get out of the arts?
Correct, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. But if you look at it the way that you're looking at it, about creating these friendships and really getting to know people's stories, it's more about building community.
Exactly. And it doesn't, I'm not saying you have to pay for every interaction with art, you know, but there's other ways to support besides monetary. Yeah. So, you know, whether that be sharing or telling people about it, you know, sharing on social media, liking, you know, when you buy a piece of art at an art fair, say, that's awesome because you just supported that, but then, you know, throw it on your Instagram and put it in your house and say, hey, look at how this fits in, or those kind of things. So it's not like you have to even spend a lot of money, but go to the performance. Be a part of it.
Go to the performance. Bring your friends with you. Tell people about it. Yes. And I think that builds like an excitement. If you yourself are really interested in that art, then naturally you're going to tell the people that you like and care about. And about that stuff too. Right.
And that's a lot of the reason I got into the podcast. It's like I was doing that anyway. Yeah. And people are always asking me, what restaurant should I go to? Or you always do cool stuff. Like, like you can do that too, you know? And so it's nice for me to be able to have a little bit wider audience for that.
So I guess you touched on it a little bit about supporting artists, not just monetarily, but sharing things. What are some other ways that I guess you interact with artists in the city, since you meet so many different people all the time and different mediums of art, I'm sure?
Yes. Anything from painting to sculpture to photography to music, dance. I guess, I don't know, it all just comes so naturally. I don't even know how to answer that question. So I guess just being around, being open to it. If there's a street artist doing something, I'm going to be the one that's going up there saying, what's going on? What's this from? And or asking other people who they like and where they go and what they do. You know, when you visit a home and you see some unique things, is that a local artist? Where'd you get that? What's your story?
Yeah, we definitely do that with all the artists that we have all over our house.
It's lovely. I know I got some questions for you later, but so okay, what was your question? How do I...
just connecting and interacting with all these different types of artists. And once you build those connections with them, like, let's say you have an initial connection with someone, or you've just met an artist or a painter or a muralist in Eastern Market. What does that relationship look like? I mean, is it just the one-time connection, or is it, things come up events might come up, and then you might think, oh, okay, I know this person.
Yeah.
Good for that.
All those things.
Yeah.
I mean, there's certainly people and situations where it ends up being that was it. That was the end of it. But I've always got the thing going in my head, like, how does this fit, or how can I help this person?
Right.
Or how can this person help somebody else that I know?
Right.
Just like a good example, like I love what they're doing at the Foundation Hotel, right?
Yeah.
I know you do too. And so through Emily Gale, who is the Say Nice Things About Detroit woman, who has become a fan of our show and a mentor and an inspiring person to me, she is a master at this. So I think I'm instinctually pretty good at it, but I've been learning a lot from her too. Is that she keeps copious notes. So like I always have, like a notebook, and I always have things in here. I have a drawer with all my cards. I have a lot of stuff I save online, Instagram, whatever. And I don't know, it just kind of comes naturally to me, but I think that the important thing is follow through.
Right.
So if you're going to be a good connector and a good networker, you can't just have those in your head.
Yeah.
You have to take the time to do something about it.
Right,
So
right.
I'm all over the place, and I'm not very organized, but I try to set aside time every week. Usually it's on Tuesdays, is that I go through and I look back at those notes, and I think about who I met the last couple weeks.
Interesting.
And I think about who should know who. And what I said earlier is like, I'm not surprised that anybody in Detroit knows each other, but then I take that back, because sometimes I'm surprised who doesn't know each other. Like, how can you not know? Oh my gosh, you've got to know. Know. And that's just so powerful when somebody's like, oh, can you introduce me?
Right.
And so then I make it a point to follow through.
Right.
Ask that person, let's grab a drink, let's go to lunch or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, that's just big. And we're all busy, and we have 100 other things to do. And I'm sure you want to watch crap on Netflix, but it's not that rewarding in the end. So if you meet somebody cool and you think that they should know somebody else, just like make it happen.
Just be that person.
Yeah.
Welcome to everyone who's here. If you have any questions, please let us know.
Yes. But what really touched me recently was Mahogany Jones. She sent me like the little plug emoji, like just that you plug into a socket, and I was kind of like, why is she sending me that? Like, it didn't have any words with it, and she's like, because you're the plug, that's it. Like, it was like this light bulb, and I was like, okay, cool,
Have you taken the Gallup strength test?
Yes.
So it's connector.
Yeah, harmonizer. That's the thing, that it's selfish, really.
Yeah.
I like people to like me, and I like to create happiness.
Yeah.
I like people to have a good time, and so I get something out of that too. Like,
because that's one of my strengths on that too.
Okay. Yeah.
And people
I can
like
definitely see that in you.
And I feel like there are people whose that's in their personality, and it becomes easier to connect people together and to make those connections and sustain those connections. Yes. And then I think for some people it's really hard just to have that initial contact. Can be really hard.
Right, and that can be frustrating as a connector or a networker when people don't follow your advice.
Right. You're like, get to know them.
You're like, no, I know what you need to do. Go to this place and do that. But for more introverted or people like to have a reason, but sometimes you don't need an actual reason. Right. And sometimes I've connected people, I'm like, I don't know what could come of this, but I just feel like you should know each other. Yeah. And that's okay, So I think follow-up's really important. I don't think people do that enough. Right. It annoys me when you send an email with 5 questions and maybe somebody replies with one answer. Like, no, but what about those other questions?
There were so many.
Yes.
I'm that person who responds with like double question marks or bold, like make everything bold that you didn't answer.
Like that. Yes. Put it back.
So let me bring this up again.
Yeah.
It's funny, it's interesting that you talk about writing notes. I used to do this when I traveled. When I was younger and I was in college, I traveled a lot. And I kept a notebook, and it was a notebook just for names of people.
Oh, wow.
And like anytime I would meet someone, because especially when you're traveling, you meet so many different types of people.
Right.
Some of them you might maintain those connections with. Some of them, it's, it's just that
yeah.
one-time thing. But I always loved writing down people's names and maybe like a little snippet of what happened, what that interaction was like.
Oh, nice.
And I recently went back. I found that notebook like maybe a month ago, and I was going through it. And I thought of like how many names I put down that just like completely slipped my mind, that you forget about. And so I like that you bring up writing notes, because sometimes there's so much going on up here that we completely forget to connect certain dots.
Always. Yeah, and the older you get, the harder it is. And the walking into a room like, what did I come in here for? But I think social media helps in that way a lot.
Yeah.
Like when I can connect with someone and see their name and their face together,
right.
That's really huge.
That's always the first thing I do too. As I'll ask, do you have Instagram?
Yes. And it's really powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also an incredible time warp, and it's and I'm the kind to really geek out. Especially the artists that are doing stuff in Detroit. I love following where else they're doing stuff.
Right.
And then when you travel, I mean, to me, it was just wild to like go to Barcelona, Spain, and see somebody's work that is also an Eastern market.
Yeah.
If that doesn't tell you what the world's all about, I don't know what does. But
that's
I don't
like
know
the
if I'm
ultimate sign of connectivity. No, you are.
Okay.
I was just thinking how like that is the ultimate sign of connectivity, because you've got people who are doing things in Detroit, and you'll go to other places and you'll see them there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And who knows about them in that area, in that place, and what type of connections do they have? So it just makes the world seem a lot smaller.
It does.
And it makes you feel like you're a part of that community of movers and shakers who are doing things.
Yes. Yeah, it does. It does. And like I said, I don't know that I feel a lot like a mover and shaker, but I feel like that if I can help somebody else know something great that I've discovered, that just feels really special. Because I feel like once you know things, you can't unknow them. You can't ignore them. So good or bad. Like you can't feign ignorance anymore. So like I said, good or bad, I don't know. I feel like if you have resources and community, you're almost obligated to sort of share that and connect it. I mean, otherwise, what are people on this earth for?
Like why be selfish about it?
Yeah. Like I tell my sons, really, there's two rules. Just be kind and build connections with people, because at the end of the day, that's all that matters. So
I mean, I feel like that's human beings I don't think we would be able to live happy lives or sustainable lives if we didn't have connections with other people, if we didn't have communities, or didn't feel like a sense of belonging. And I think that if you don't have that sense of belonging, life becomes really bleak.
It does. Isolated and sad, and that's where I think a lot of anger comes from. And you can get too inward directed. Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
So connect with people.
Yes, do it. Go talk to someone, wherever you are.
Wherever you are.
Even if they think you're nuts.
You never know. I mean, you never know what kind of connection will come about.
Oh my gosh, and it's usually something you didn't expect. Yeah.
That was something that was sometimes really difficult for me, but my husband's really good at it. He's more of the type of person who he'll ask questions. And when we first were getting to know each other, we would go out and he would just like ask people questions. But I have a lot of friends who are like that too. Christina's like that too.
Yes, she's good at that.
And I would always be like, how are you asking this question? You have no idea who this person is. And it took me time to get used to the idea that it's okay. You can have a conversation with someone that's a stranger, and it could be anything. Right.
Exactly. There's always going to be something you can connect
There's
on.
always going to be something.
They're a person. So.
And even if it's not a deep conversation, I feel like if you see something and you like it, like you like what someone's wearing.
Oh, I love that.
Someone's in the middle of doing art and you like it. Or that you see like street musicians, like whatever it is that you like. to just let people know, to acknowledge it, I feel like is huge.
Yes. I think seeing the beauty and telling the person. Right. Because you know how good you feel.
Yeah. When someone says something.
Yeah. They could be feeling that, but you'd never know.
Right.
And so if it's as much as the little things, like you said, like, oh my gosh, I love that shirt you're wearing.
Yeah. Down
to like, wow. I mean, I told your husband after the So Far concert, I was like, I had a really bad week. Yeah. And now I'm good because I saw your show. And it was like one of those, I don't even know if I want to go out. Wow. And, our cat had just died. Yeah. I mean, it was a bad week. And a bunch of things happened. And I got there and it just forgot about it and immersed. And you guys were just so lovely and touched my soul, seriously. Wow. And I wanted to tell him that. Yeah. And he was like, wow, that's why we do this,
Yeah, I mean, who wouldn't want to hear that?
Oh, like, tell me all the good things. If you,
Right.
So.
Right. And the way that we affect people, like to change someone's mood like that,
Exactly.
To change someone's day like that. There was one time where I was hosting an open mic at Bottom Line, and there was a gentleman who came in, and he actually had been driving around trying to find out which cafe he wanted to sit at because his brother had just passed away the day before.
Oh my God.
And he was writing his eulogy for the funeral that was going to take place the day after. And he happened to decide to come to the Bottom Line, not knowing that there was an open mic.
Just to find a coffee shop.
Find a coffee shop. And it was a very intimate open mic. There were maybe 10, 15 people. It was like a smaller one.
Yeah.
And the vulnerability in the room and the types of things that people were sharing, like the types of uplifting things that people were saying, made that gentleman decide to come up and share his eulogy with everyone. And he was like, I was so down and I didn't know, for some reason I was called to come to this place and now I know why. Like, it's completely changed what I was writing and how I felt about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really
powerful. It's powerful. Those connections that we have with people, whether they're random perchance or if they're planned.
Whatever you believe. Yeah.
It has power to it.
I absolutely agree. Yeah, and it's funny on the tours, I get all kinds of groups, right? And from little kids to 100-year-old people.
Yeah.
And some groups are really fun and really interactive, and some are not.
Yeah.
And those are really awkward and hard, and I have no idea if they like it or if they're going home and going, well, that was a waste of $20.
How do you deal with that? Because I'm a teacher. I teach college.
Right.
And that's how classes are. Sometimes you'll have classes that are really fun because the students are engaged, they're interactive. Yeah. And then sometimes I have classes where I don't know what's going on with everyone.
Right. Like, am I talking to the wall? I think also that is one benefit of aging. Like, it's just a day.
Yeah.
I've done so many different jobs from... I'm the youngest of 6 kids. So, first of all, that. Yeah. And then, I've had jobs since I was 12 years old. Or, before that even, babysitting and stuff like that. Yeah. I've had so many jobs that I think just over time, my 40s have been a really beautiful thing because the skin is just thicker. And I'm like, whatever your reaction is has so much more to do with you than it is with me.
Right.
And I tell my boys that too. They can't really feel it in high school, because it's just an awful time in so many ways. But
everything takes so much weight at that age.
Yes, but really, when someone's crappy to you, it's about them, usually.
Yeah.
But so how I handle it is I just brush it off, and I really savor the good times. Because I'm also a firm believer in change is always going to happen. You can't control it, good or bad. So if something's really good, celebrate it now.
Right.
And then if something's bad, it's going to change. So you'll get beyond it.
And that's okay.
I try with the tour groups, but some, like if it's halfway through and they're not getting it, I just dial it down a notch and get through it.
Like they're not as interested.
Yeah, but then there's like the really special ones. Yeah. So a woman came on a tour, one of the murals tours, and it was during a day, I think it was during the Kavanaugh hearings.
Yeah.
I was going to say just during a bad political day, but that's like every day.
Yeah,
so I don't remember exactly. But yeah, she's just like, I woke up and started reading the news and I was just in a bad place. And she's like, I was almost late for the tour. But I came and she's like, you know what? For these 2 hours, you just brought joy to my soul. I was like, me? But she was just like, yeah, you just showed me the museum that is Detroit. And all your stories, she's like, I completely was able to lose myself in it and just really feel renewed. Like there is good things in this world, and it just took me out it let me escape for a bit. Right. And so I don't consider myself an artist, but it was like the same experience I had at your show. And if I can do that, well, that's pretty kicking. I was like, I will take that adrenaline any day of the week. And continue with it. Yeah, and then she was very kind and thoughtful enough to share that with other people. And I was like, wow. Yeah. So to your point, you don't know the effect you have on it.
You really don't.
I'm so excited about the art, and so all I do is talk about it, and some people are not going to be as excited as me. But the ones that are like into it, that's pretty special. So
I think that when you were talking, it just made me think about how those connections that we make with people and those interactions that we have that are really positive, that's what makes the world continue growing and developing. And that's what, as us as a people, that's what's going to take us forward.
Agreed.
Right? No matter what is going on, if we ourselves are not connecting and having those positive interactions with one another, we're not going to cause any change, any positive change in the world.
It's got to build like that. It's really just Detroit's a small version of that bigger story that you're telling, is that I think through the tours and through the debrief, it's like, if people don't know, why would they care? Right. So if they don't know me, don't know you, if they don't get beyond, they're not invested in it. Right. So I think you're absolutely right. It just starts one person at a time. Right. And it doesn't have to be a big, huge thing. But the more you know and the more you experience, the more you're going to care and take that beyond. So.
And I think the more you know, the more you'll be in tune with what you care about. Because then you have access to more information, and you can say, okay, well, this is what I really connected with.
Yeah,
and this is the path I want to go on.
That takes time. Yeah, I mean, I think finally embrace that I'm a dabbler, and that's okay. Yeah. Because believe it or not, I am an economics major. It has actually helped me a ton. But I thought back then that whatever you were good at, you should just do, just stop there. Okay, so I was a good student, top of my class, and good at these certain things. Well, then that's what you do, because you can make a good salary and whatever. But then I'm like, oh, but I'm still interested in all these things, and I'm curious about pretty much everything. Right. And if you pick just one thing, that could be great, and you can be a master in it, but that just wasn't me. But it took me a long time to figure out, well, I'm not just flaky, and I'm not just can't commit to stuff, but I need that stimulation, and I like, and I'm just interested in people and interested in a lot of things, and that's okay too. But to your point, it takes you a bit to figure how to channel what you want to do.
That's true. It takes you a bit, and it takes a lot of introspection. Yeah, knowing who you are, to know that you're a dabbler, especially coming from school systems that make you feel like you have to pick one thing, specialize, and that's it. And if you're not doing that one thing,
then what's your focus? What's your point?
And I feel like that's a normal feeling to have been, for instance, I've been working in my field at the place that I'm at for 8 years now, right? And I have this feeling of do I need to stay here? Should I what do I feel about this being in the same place for so long? Right. Doesn't mean I don't like it, But I think humans, we naturally have this feeling of wanting something different.
Yes.
A different experience or different people, which is one of the reasons why I like teaching, because I get 125 new students every semester. But that constant desire to learn more, to try new things, meet new people.
Mm-hmm. And I think if you don't embrace that and do something with that, that's where you find the people that all of a sudden it hits.
Right.
Like, they've been doing the same thing, getting complacent, maybe not taking care of themselves, mind, body, soul.
Right.
And that's the people that freak.
Right.
When they turn 50 or whatever, it doesn't matter, not an age number, but they're just like, crap, I gotta, fall off the deep end.
Right.
So I think it's important to know that about yourself. And
you won't have a midlife crisis if you do that.
I
look at my husband. He just turned 50, and he's just loving life. Like,
he
completely
just radiates.
Loving life, because I feel like whatever it is that he's interested in, and both of us, we just pursue those things.
And it's really important that you support that in each other.
Yeah, that really is, because imagine if you don't have someone who supports you in that.
Exactly. Go find supportive people. Your friends, your spouse, your partners.
Whoever it is. Just the people around you. My other question that I had for you is how do you find out where to go? Like, what's happening in the city that you're interested in? What events do you go to? Like,
you listen to the debrief.
Yeah, definitely.
Listen to the debrief.
I'm going to link all the stuff on the website and on Instagram. So.
Yeah, give me a reason for this hobby of mine. So specific places, or where do I find my
specific or in general?
Yeah,
as you want it.
So general, I'd say there's so many sources out there.
Yeah,
and so you kind of find what you connect to, whatever. I mean, social media, it's a love-hate relationship.
Yeah,
personally, but that's where I find out a ton.
Yeah, same.
People you respect, people you like, people who you think are cool in some way or like similar things, you start following what they do and what they post and events they go to. So I find out a lot just with people I like and respect. But all the traditional, Metro Times and Our Magazine and Culture Source and Curbed and Eater Detroit, all those things. Yeah. I'm like a information junkie. So, and another friend of mine who I need to introduce you to, I did Peter Crosey, Rocksteady Disco. We're gonna get you guys together.
I'm gonna write this down.
But he told me something today that I had never referred to myself as, and he called me a connector, but also an aggregator. So I thought that was really interesting too. So like all these sources, and then I try to sort of synthesize. Yeah. But the good news is I like a ton of different stuff. Yeah. Like there's almost nothing I won't go to. Yeah. Even if it's bizarre. And so I think that I'm, if you follow me or listen to the podcast or come on a tour, I'm not like real narrowly focused and you gotta like what I like, because I like a lot of things and I like to expose a lot of things. So I guess this short answer is I'll try anything once, and if I like it, then I'll find out what else happens there. So for instance, like the DIY street fair put on by my friend Krista Johnston in Ferndale is one of the coolest situations there. So you've got music, art, and food, and it just incredible.
It's like 1 on 9 Mile.
Yeah. There's two going on. There's also Funky Ferndale on the other side of Woodward. But anyway, so I go there, love it, and then I talk to the artists there, and then I find out, well, where else do they show their work? Right. What else do they do? Right. What other events? And then it's that spider web with people and also events. Yeah. Or I see something cool online, and I'm just one of those that goes down the rabbit hole.
I do the same.
And by the time I started with this A thing that looked kind of interesting, but then I get to like the Z thing, and I'm like, oh, that's it. That. Yeah. So I guess
so
I just
important though to do things like that.
I guess that's my other rule of life. Just show up. Just show the heck up. Yeah. Just go somewhere. Do something.
One of the other things I wanted to sort of touch on was why building connections is so important for both artists and supporters of artists.
Oh, yeah.
And when you bring this up, it's interesting because we do something similar in regards to like going on people's Instagram and social media. Like we'll see bands that we like, and we'll see that, okay, they performed at one spot, or maybe that, you know, we see them at an event. Then we go online and we say, where are all the other spots that they have performed at?
Right.
And then connect with those venues.
Right.
And then perform at those venues.
Correct.
Right? So that's a way of building a connection with someone, and then who are they connected with as an artist, and tapping into that.
And I'm sure you find, like, I think people younger than me, it's figured out a lot sooner that you can do 10 things.
Yeah.
That took me longer to realize, but it's like, I find so many artists who are also chefs, and they play the drums on the side, and they do, you know, 5 different things, and they're super talented at all of them, and usually I'm really jealous. But, you know, you're good at that, and so you might go to a venue that you went to for music.
Right.
But maybe the owner of it also runs an online magazine, or you know, knows this incredible podcast that they just discovered, or something like that. So it's often what you didn't expect. But I think for artists themselves, you cannot live in your bubble. No. And I know it's a different way of thinking. Like, sometimes you have to isolate yourself. You got to get the work done. You got to rehearse. You got to practice. You got to have a
creative space too.
Yes, and get into yourself. And I think you cannot lose that. You can't be about the business of yourself. You have to be about your art first.
Right.
But then beyond that, what's the point of it if nobody ever hears it?
Right.
I mean, maybe that's okay, and you do stuff for yourself too. There's nothing wrong with that. But there's this whole other skill that you're kind of a brand and a business, and that's where my economics kind of comes through, and my management and business school stuff. But it's true.
Yeah.
And there's so much noise. The world is so noisy and overwhelming, and so you've got to make those connections for yourself, and you have to follow through too.
Right.
And not everybody will be as nice as me and email you 5 times. So if somebody says, I would like to introduce you to someone,
follow through with that.
Yeah. Answer their stuff, or reach out to them.
Right. Because
they probably meant it, but they probably also have 80,000 other things. Exactly. So it goes both ways. You know, obviously you're not going to take everybody up on every offer.
Right.
But I think if something is out there in the universe for you, you have to do your best to try and seize it as well.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I think half of the gigs that we've gotten and half of the opportunities that we have gotten have simply been because of following through.
Yeah.
You know?
Because you're the one that answered.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it might have been someone emails you or gives you their business card and says, I'd like to talk. You know, and that's it. You don't know what they want to talk about, but they're just interested in having a conversation.
Oh, yeah.
And then just calling them the next day.
Right. And you can always get out of it. Because, I mean, I've been suspicious, too. Like,
yeah.
What do they want from me?
Yeah.
Especially because I kind of have a platform now, and a little bit, and a little small, but a little bit. So I do have some things that I feel like, okay, they could be kind of using me, whatever. But I always
just to know.
I always just follow up anyways.
Yeah.
And you can always get out of it later and be like, oh, you know, it's not for me or something. Yeah. But
I mean, you always have that complete control of who you want to maintain a connection with and who you want to work with. You know, that, and especially as an artist, I think that it's so important to staying genuine to who you are.
Oh my gosh, you know? Yes. Because
knowing who you're going to connect with and who you're going to do work with, you want to respect the people that you work with and believe in the same causes.
Exactly, have common values. Right. But you can realize that pretty quick. Yeah. But I'd say for an initial meeting or conversation, you don't always know. Yeah. And you know, sometimes I've been like, oh, they're probably gonna ask that, and then I'm like, oh wow, they didn't know. Yeah. This was great. Like sweet. So,
that's actually perfect when it works out in that way.
Yeah. And if it doesn't, you might, that was 10 minutes of my time or whatever.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned one of the things when we talked about, what are the things we're discussing about living a life based on the things that, inspire you and those things driving you. And I wondered if you could talk a little bit more about what you mean.
Okay, yeah. I think the best way to describe it is that, okay, I started in banking. So when I got...
It's so interesting to see, like, where you...
Yeah, so I worked at a bank out of college. Now, this was not a good time to find a job in the early 90s. So it was like, you got an internship, you graduated summa cum laude in economics, you know, you're going to work for an accounting firm or a bank.
Right.
And they're putting offers in front of you. Like, well, why wouldn't I take that? Yeah. You know, I wanted to support myself. I wanted to buy a Coach briefcase. And I wanted to, like, wear some suits. Like, I thought, oh, that sounds amazing. And I guess but then I got there and, like, this doesn't mean anything to me. And that had literally never occurred to me.
Wow.
It had never occurred to me that what you do for your work can't be about the things that you love. And I've always been interested in creativity and, you know, dance and art and music, but I thought that was what you do on the weekend.
On the side.
Yeah.
Right.
Or you do that for fun or whatever, but you, like, slog through your work day and you make your money and that's gonna be all awesome. So it took me some time to realize that, but what really showed me that is that there actually are people passionate about banking. But it was not,
and let them do the banking.
But that was not me. But what really made a shine for me is I looked at the people that were higher up in the bank, because obviously I want to keep moving up, and why am I here? Because I'm going to get the next job. And I was like, oh, I am not them. And actually, I don't think I like them. No disrespect to anyone personally, but it was like I didn't like the values that had to be. And also, as a young woman in banking at that time was surprisingly crazy. Yeah, it was pretty cutthroat for the women who had gotten it, and it wasn't so much a mentoring thing. It was more of a competition thing. And so I didn't like that. I was like, why can't everybody just get along and help each other out? And so I think looking where that would lead, and I think I realized, like, I will die if that is the case. So that's when I started really thinking, and I was like, oh, you know, I really like art. I really like museums. So maybe, you know. So I just turned to, like, trying to find pieces that I liked. But I think it's taken me a lot of years and a lot of, like, listening to other people and seeing other people and mentors and, you know, just people that I respect and like. And I think, you know, you can be good at things, but that doesn't mean you have to do them. You can be good at things and feel fulfilled by them, and that's what you should do. And, you know, I think if you do things in your life that come from your passions and the things that inspire you, that's what's going to be ultimately fulfilling, and not just a job that you, like, get through to be able to come home and watch Netflix or whatever. You know, you can integrate those things into your life. And so to me, that creates, you know, purposeful living, passionate living. And then you're constantly engaged in that, because if this inspires you. And I think also I thought, well, I'm not an artist, I'm not a musician, I'm not a dancer, so that can't be my job. But then I figured out I could carve out a niche for myself that let me be around all those people. And that's really nice. So
because you love those things and you want to be around those things.
Exactly. And I want other people to share in them and know about them. So I think that's a long-winded way of answering, but I think for anybody out there, like, think about the things that inspire you, that really, like, get you excited, and things that people tell you, wow, your face really lights up when you say that, or you look like you're having so much fun at that. Like, figure out a way to work that into your life and what you're doing, either for monetary pursuits or you're a volunteer or whatever. Because I think ultimately that's where it's at. Is is finding out what inspires you and letting that direct your life, and you'll find out a way to take care of yourself.
Yeah, I believe it. I mean, I think more and more now we're coming into a time where you don't have to have this 9-to-5 office job.
Oh my gosh,
no. And you don't have to feel guilty about not wanting that
right,
and not pursuing it.
Right.
There are so many other things that you can pursue.
Yeah, and so many ways to work now.
Right.
We're so mobile and yeah.
And I think sometimes people get scared with, they want stability, which I completely understand. That's something that I want in my life. And,
yes, for sure.
Teaching allows me to have that stability. But knowing that there's so many different means of income now, like there's so many different things that you can be doing. You can be a dabbler.
Yes.
And be making, a livelihood off of all the things you dabble in.
Yes.
Or
not.
or not, or keep like a few of them as
having a supportive family that makes bigger money than you. But yeah. But you'll find a way. Or, it's okay if you got to do something to pay the bills too. Yeah. Tons of people do, and you can find fulfillment in that as well. But just making sure you make time for the things that inspire you. Like don't let those things go.
Right. Make time for them.
Yeah.
Make time for them. Meet people. Definitely go out.
Yeah, practice what you believe in. Mm-hmm. You'll find the time. Yeah. And I know you asked me something about Matrix too that we never talked about.
I did. I think I was curious about how you got into that work.
Oh, because the neighbor asked me. Because they knew I was a sucker for helping with, a fundraiser of some sort at the time. But just simply that. It was connectors, you know. My neighbor was the chair of the board, Andy Curo, at the time. And he's just like, we need some people. We need some people that are interested and know what's going on in the city and want to help. And I think he lured me in it's just like a lunch. That's it. Yeah, it's like no big deal. 11 years later. But to me, it's important to, nothing separates us from anyone else except opportunity. Well, that's what I believe anyways. I didn't get to choose who I was born to. That just happened. So the day I was born, there was already a lot of stuff set that I couldn't change for good and bad. And so those opportunities that came my way, yes, I could choose whether to work hard and take advantage of them, but some people never even have that choice at all. So that's what I believe. Talent doesn't, it's not a separation of talent. It's just, it's simply opportunity. So I feel if you've been given the gift of good circumstances in whatever way, good fortune, it's pretty much your obligation as a functioning human in society to share that. And again, back to the,
and it's not going to take away from what you have.
Not at all.
That's the thing that
makes it bigger.
If you have something, share it.
Yeah.
If you have a talent, if you have a privilege, if you have whatever it is, sharing it doesn't take away from what you have.
It makes it bigger. Yeah. And I just feel like you, to the point, you can't unknow things, right? So if I know people are suffering and there is even a little bit I can help, that's really crazy if I don't.
Yeah.
I can't feign ignorance.
It says a lot.
Yeah.
It says a lot if you don't.
Yeah, exactly. If you don't know, that's one thing, but come on. So, and it can be the littlest things or the biggest things. And so I just feel like part of your value and obligation as just a citizen of the world is, sharing whatever you have. And so Matrix has been an amazing outlet for that because there's amazing people running it and doing all the hard work. And so I can just help out by being a connecting them to people who have money, time, resources, throwing parties that people will come to and connect with the kids that we help. I mean, it's all about, helping families support themselves and educating kids and creating stronger neighborhoods. And once you tell the stories, people connect to that. And so if I can just be the storyteller and say, hey, you've got some stuff to give. Did you know there's people that could really use it? Then,
I feel like that was the perfect way to tie up the episode.
Well, I feel like I just blah, 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 blah. And then you're like, okay, she means this.
That was perfect. That was perfect.
Oh, good.
Well, we've come to an hour. And
that was a fun hour.
It was. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. It was really an honor, especially when I see all your other guests. It's like, one of these things does not fit.
No, this was perfect.
Oh.
With that,
thanks for watching.
Check out Debrief. I will link all those things, and we'll see you guys next Tuesday at 7 p.m.